Hello, petals. Today's episode is going to be all about illegal things in the form of hallucinogens. Never thought that I'd do an episode about this stuff or, get into my little stories and my journeys because I guess it felt a little bit personal. We all have our own things. I don't want to influence anyone to get on it, but to be honest, I actually kind of do because I think some major answers come from taking plant medicine consciously. So I'm going to recount a couple of stories about my journeys. I realized that I have such a podcast costume. I just turn on this weird voice and these hand movements and gestures. It's the funniest thing. I've got a work costume, a podcast costume, a hanging out with friends costume, a hanging out with Cap costume. God, couple personalities, but yes, today podcast costume. Anywho, today we're talking trips. Let's. I should do the thing about the thing that the people do, which is. I just want to say before I take it away, I think it's really natural to have a curiosity when it comes to this stuff because it's the coolest thing ever, really. But I think it's really also important to just be safe and very diligent with your explorations. I have so enjoyed incorporating different hallucinogens. It's funny, I just want to call them drugs because it's easier, but I just don't feel like the energy that comes with the word drugs is very peppy. So we'll go with hallucinogens. This is very personally speaking. I feel like there is a lot of magic to be had from dipping your toes in the hallucinogen pool. So if you feel called, do some research and just really take it away. I feel like now that they're coming out with all these MDMA studies and the psilocybin studies and even weed being prescribed by doctors and you can just get it very easily these days. I just feel like if it's becoming legal and it's already legal in so many other places, then why can't I talk about it? So I don't think it's as taboo as it used to be. Or maybe I just made rules around it or was made to feel guilty for dipping my toes in the pool. A couple of months ago, I smoked some DMT and then afterwards I was just really curious about the journey that I just undertook. And I went on Spotify and listened to a few DMT stories. And there wasn't really much on there. And I thought, why not? If I'm interested, maybe other people will be interested too. Psychedelics show you things that are beyond comprehension. They give you answers, they bring lots of things up. And depending on where you're at in your life, I feel like they bring a lot of clarity. Sometimes they can bring darkness to the front. I think a lot of people reject the idea of psychedelics and plant medicine being able to be used as a healing tool, but I just have used myself as a case study time and time again and have gained so much clarity from having a crack, let's just say. So I thought I'd share a couple of little stories that have been quite profound to me. Being quite a creative person, I have noticed a big surge in inspiration since incorporating plant medicine into my diet, not into my lifestyle. Before I get into it, I'll just say that I think it's important to do your research before delving in because so much can happen. We all have such different brains and it's really quite important to be in quite a clear headspace when trying said goodies. I feel like all these goodies come from the earth. DMT comes from a tree, mushies grow from the ground or from cow poo. Weed, same deal. Yeah, I don't know. If it's naturally occurring, I just think, why not? truly, why not? DMT, naturally occurring in your brain. It comes and says hello when you're born, and when you die, it also comes and says hello. So why not experience it really consciously and see what happens? Intuitively speaking, my truth tells me that since it's naturally occurring, for example, DMT naturally occurring in your brain, says hello when you're born, says hello when you die. So if you can get it off a tree, then it's fine with me. But same, weed grows, mushrooms, you know where they come from. So I just think it's a bit shady that they're illegal, or mostly illegal, because I have a tendency to think, and I'm not this like conspiracy theorist, but you know, there's these plant medicines where you get all these answers and all this clarity and all this creative magic and all these epic downloads, and they're illegal and they're frowned upon. I don't know, the fact that mushies are a class A just blows my mind. I'm just like, that's just crazy shiz. But yeah, that's intuitively speaking. Scientifically speaking, psychedelics work by encouraging new connections in the brain. So, I mean, if it does that, if it has the ability to completely change your makeup and to change the way that you're thinking, to change the way you're doing, to maybe bring things up that you've been pushing down, or things that you were suppressing, or things you didn't even know were there, I think why not, if you're called to it. But you know, just don't be silly. Don't be silly with it. Do your research, be around good people. I've had a few experiences with people which have been really beautiful, like stunning. I'll tell you guys about a few of my journeys after this, but it's funny, I do find myself opting to do it alone mostly. And I think it's because I can just really be conscious with the whole process of what's coming up, and I can really sit with it and be almost examining the process. I find that I can be a little bit more present and conscious with what's coming up, and then it means that my integration is a little smoother as well. But I am really excited to, you know, just have like some sessions in the future where it's just like fun and laughter and connection and things like that. So I'm starting to feel like I'm heading into a new phase, which I'm keen to just fucking get banged up with some mates. No, I'm joshing. I think now I'm just gonna tell y'all a couple of stories about some trips that I've had that have been quite formative as well, and that I've had some trips that have completely changed my full direction, changed the way that I think about life. Like they've just put so much pep in my step and have had me really believing in myself a lot more. So, I mean, I've had some experiences that have been heavy and dark and painful afterwards, because in a way, depending on which drug you're taking, you can borrow serotonin from the future. You can borrow energy from the future in a way as well, because what goes up must come down. But I do think that if you're doing it intentionally, I think you can bear some beautiful fruits. My first time with psychedelics was actually in Amsterdam, which is really quite wholesome. And in Amsterdam, it's evidently quite readily available, but I was with some friends and weed this warms my heart. It was such a good time. But yeah, in Amsterdam, you can basically just go to a store that's like an Apple store, and they've got all the mushies, all the truffles just lined up, and then there's different like potencies and doses, and you know, you can get this mushroom to feel like this, or this mushroom to feel like this, or if you like a bit of a sender, you can get a huge high dose or whatever. But we got a couple of truffles and headed down to Vondel Park, which is, in my opinion, one of the most beautiful parks in the world. And we sat in the park, and it was just like, I sat down and didn't move for 8 hours straight. I was just in absolute awe of what I was feeling, what I was seeing. It was so beautiful to be able to do it with some really great friends, and you know, we're all on our little separate journeys, but the main theme was just love. And They have like all these different installations set up around the park, so you can just be tripping and just like looking at these installations, and all these people are just riding around, everyone's smoking doobies, and there's like people having fires by the little river, and it's just like on another level. There's a guy just giving out ice creams. It's just honestly just like a fairy tale. I wouldn't call it like transformative, but it was just such a day well spent. That's such a beautiful entry into those realms. So soft and so loving, and no dips, no lows, no shadow, no darkness. It was just love and light and simplicity. And if I reflect back actually to my first kind of couple of trips, it was always very simple and light. I have the tendency to think that psychedelics kind of just show you the unseen, or show you or remind you of a lesson, or something maybe becomes wisdom rather than something that you know on an intellectual level. But yeah, this year has been a funny year in the realms of psychedelics and things like that, because I've just been on. I've really enjoyed tripping. I've really enjoyed tripping this year. The older you get, the more extensive the trips can get in a way, depending on where you're at mentally. Like I've had some trips where the theme has legitimately just been like love or presence or nature, which is bloody amazing, and also similar to what I'd experienced in my normal day to day, but just that gassed up. But yeah, I think I've grown really fond of mushrooms over the years. I wouldn't even call it lucky, because it's just like I've been out on those fields so much that now when certain things happen in the weather, I'm just like, we're on, and I can just come back with so many. And the thought of just, I just love, going out to the field, getting so many, bringing them home, drying them up, and then just having so many to just share and give out. And when they're picked like that with love and just so much intention, it just feels like so beautiful. It just feels like such a little gift. It's funny, I realize how like excitable I get when I'm recording and just like so passionate about my stories, and then it is so much energy out. I just had to stop and have a couple of deep breaths. But yes, coming back for story number 2, I'm going to slow it down a little bit because I am buggered. Anywho, I came into this year with quite a bit of DMT, so I got a little bit curious with it, and I found out a lot of stuff about myself. I'll go back to the first time I smoked DMT, because that was like quite brilliant. I just read that book, the DMT, the Spirit Molecule, so I'd done my research. I'd watched the Spirit Molecule on YouTube, and I just didn't really know what I was getting into. I did it with my friend who's a scientist, so I felt like safe, and I knew that he knew the scientifics behind it, and it was the coolest thing. Immediately I had it, and I was just like, I'm dying, this is it. And I felt this like intense pain, and I thought, what about mum and Jel? What about my mum and my brother? How are they going to cope with me dying right now? And then I just went bang, surrender, and just melted into the floor, and I just like went away to another planet, but only for 10-15 minutes. And I was basically in a maze for 15 minutes, and the music in the background was slowed down, because it has that effect on your hearing as well. It just slows everything down. So there was like Conan McCusson playing in the background, just like super slow. And I was kind of going through this maze that was dark and light. And I don't know if y'all have noticed, like often there is like a feminine and a masculine, or a dark and a light, or a positive and a negative to trips. And I noticed that sometimes like colors can, sometimes when there's like reds and blacks, it can feel more intense and dark and painful. And when it's like lighter colors, like yellows and light greens and stuff, it can feel like light and bubbly. But I was going through this maze, and it just kept going from like real light and fluffy and beautiful to then just like real darkness. And I just kept attaching to like the really beautiful feelings, and then attaching to the real dark feelings. And it just kept going, like 1 minute from the beautiful, 1 minute to the dark. And I felt like the trip was just kind of showing me that that's life. There is that's how it goes. It ebbs and flows. I don't really like that saying, but there's just a positive and a negative to everything, two sides to everything. And I feel like it was showing me that. And that was the main theme. It was just this maze and this beauty and like pure bliss and ecstasy and surrender. And even though I was feeling that like darkness, because I was falling back into the lightness, I had full trust. And then I came out of it, and this is the funniest thing. I don't think I've ever said this out loud, but something just kept going, don't trust the government, don't trust the government. And I was like, sweet, I ain't trusting the government. And I was like, okay, we'll just see what comes of that. And this was like years ago, pre-COVID, pre all the bullshit, when, you know, I didn't really know much about what was going on up there and all the corruption and all that jazz. But yeah, that was just such a beautiful time. And I think as the years went on, I got more and more intentional with my sittings, and I would always make sure that my headspace was clear and that I was going in intentionally, because I don't know, I don't really like the idea of getting blasted anymore or going into things in a negative headspace. Like I've had like average trips, but I'm not going to talk about those, because I mean, I might talk about one shitty trip. Oh, let's get into that now. Fuck it. I was in Indo and I ate, I reckon, 10 to 12 grams of mushrooms. Like, that's an absurd amount for a little white girl. And it felt like I was just on Mario Kart. Like, it was just the visuals were fucking incredible, but it was also so scary because I didn't think I was ever going to come out, because I was tripping for hours. It was just like, I remember just sitting up in bed just going, is this ever going to end? I think my brain's going to be like this forever. And it was fun, but I just thought, I never want to do this again. And that was back in the day when peer pressure was a vibe, and, you know, you'd always just be trying to one up your mates. But when I did that and learned that lesson, I was like, never again. Don't abuse it. Like, what's the point? So now I'll get into some more profound ones that have been more recent, I guess. I had a really beautiful time last year in New Zealand, having some acid, and I came out of that one with just so much trust in like my path. And it's funny to try and comprehend what you do get out of it and what it does shift in your makeup, but this truly made me go from having 1,000,003 ideas to full-blown action. Like, I used to just have all these ideas and just be like, sweet, another idea, cool, another idea, yeah, that's a sick idea, I like that idea. Like, I used to just have so many ideas and I wouldn't actually really act on anything. It would just be in the too hard basket. And from the moment I had this tab, the whole trip it just kept telling me, get off your phone and action things, get off your phone and action things. And I just got home, and I swear to God, since then, it's just been like, every time I have an idea, I'm like, how quickly can I make it happen? And I don't know, I think that's pretty freaking cool to have that, because often it's not the idea that's hard, it's the action. So I really appreciated that one. And I came home and I'd been wanting to do an art exhibition for so long. And then from that day onwards, for 4 months, I just chipped away every day, set the house up into a full art exhibition. And every room had a theme. And it was just so, so beautiful to watch that go. It's just to watch that happen, because evidently it resides within me. It's all in me. It's all in you. And it doesn't take drugs to activate it. But I don't know, randomly it just felt like the push I needed to just like do. And doing feels good, but doing is never going to be enough if you neglect being. So watch out with that, getting addicted to doing. Anywho, that was just fucking lovely. A really common theme across like all of my trips have been like connection to nature, which is, I guess it doesn't really sound all that exciting, but the messages I now get from animals and nature just kind of blow me away. Like, even just the other day, maybe like a month ago, I was meditating and I was just chilling, just sitting still, thinking about sweet nothing, and oh, it felt so good. I'm back there again. And then something told me to go climb the tree out the front. So I climbed the tree and sat up there and just put my hands on the tree, and I was just chilling, looking up, just thinking, wow, what a beautiful tree. Like, I love this. And then all of a sudden this like blog post just started coming to me, all these words and inspiration. And I was just like holding the tree, and I just wished I had my journal up there, because I was like, there is so much coming through right now. And then I got down from the tree and just like sat on the computer, and for 5 hours I was just like bang, bang, bang. And again, I just feel like I'm consistently talking about this thing that has only really become comprehensible to me recently, which is the clear channels thing. Clearer you are, the more your info comes through, the more your inspiration can come through, and the more you can express yourself. But I just thought that was so brilliant. Evidently comes from within, but I do feel like the tree had my back on that day, because, yeah, when you're meditating, often magic comes. Another one I enjoyed was earlier this year. I had some DMT on my birthday, actually, and the themes were, what were the themes? The themes were inner power, and I don't even know who it was, what it was. Was it an entity? Was it an ancestor? Who knows? But it was just, I'm going to call it the voice, just telling me that I have so much strength and that I need to start seeing it a little bit more. And it just kind of kept repeating that to me. And after the 10 minutes, I stood up, and I swear there was like 0 knots of wind. It was just completely just still. And I stood up and just looked at the trees, and then all of a sudden it just started howling like 30 or 40 knots. I don't know. We'll go like 40 knots of wind. That feels right. And it was just going absolutely psycho. And it just felt like, again, just a message in coming back to presence, a message in us all just being nature, and us just being all so connected. This probably doesn't sound overly profound to anyone, but to me it's just like fucking huge, because now every time I am outside, I just kind of notice the change in wind, and it always brings me back to presence. It's like the subtleties of wind, the subtleties of like tides and the water and the ocean, and how quickly just the seasons change. We're just like the seasons. I don't know. I still haven't really been able to put it into words, but I just feel like just like nature has seasons, we do too. And I feel like that's been another really recurring theme in a lot of the trips. We are nature. Another cool one was on Mushies. I was out at Mini Waters surfing, and I just surfed for 10 hours straight, didn't even come in for any water, and it was just like, I felt like I was John fucking Florence. It was just, I don't know if it was the shrooms, but I just felt like I just felt like I had it going on, and it was like the water was talking to me, the dolphins were talking to me. It was just like insane, beautiful presence. And yeah, that was another really magic time for me. They sound like quite simple trips, but they're anything that brings you back into presence for an extended amount of time. Like, you know, you're spending 8 hours of the day in, I guess, maximum presence. Imagine what that does for your brain in the future. You know, if you're practicing that presence every day, you're meditating every day, and then you're tripping, and for 10 hours you're just there, that's just got to do some things to your brain, positive things anyway. So I found that that was just really marvelous at bringing me back to myself. Last week was actually good. I saddled up the kayak and had a tab. And that was just like nature talking to me. And the biggest theme was forgiveness. It was a full body kind of forgiveness for myself and for these people that I felt had wronged me. And I just kind of got to a place where I was just like, you know, people can't meet you further than they've met themselves. And These are all things that can come to you when you're not tripping balls, but I feel like sometimes it just becomes a lot more cement when you're like present and it comes to you in a different form. It just does something to your makeup. Yeah, this year, as I was saying, loved the DMT and was handed a big old bag of DMT, so I enjoyed that. But the biggest one, actually, there was like 3 in a row because in bloody May, it was like Mother's Day, and I was like, better sit with the mother. And then 3 days later, I was like, better get some more answers. So yeah, when you got a bag of DMT, just watch out because yeah, sometimes you overdo it a little bit. But the coolest one was earlier in the year, and I sat with it, and it was just like the whole time it was just perfectionism and control, and it was just like you need to let go of control cap and perfectionism. And it was just, oh, it's raining. It was just so like screaming in my face. I think like control is such a coping mechanism. When that came up, that I was just like, all right, time to face this shit head on. Yeah, I've grown a lot since then, let's just say. I find a lot of joy in the practice of just being like, things are gonna flow the way they're gonna flow, so why try control? But yeah, it's all old trauma stuff, trauma response. I never really wanted to say that one out loud, the whole, you got control issues. Perfectionism I was alright with. We're all kind of perfectionists in our crafts, but control, I definitely felt a little bit of shame around it because it just doesn't mean you're. It means that you could be a lot more flowy, and I want to be a flowy person. So it was cool when that came up because I was like, all right, cool. This is another little thing that you need to focus on and let go of and move through. And if it's coming up now, it means you're going to deal with it and you're not going to bring it in to your next phase. So yeah, from then on, I kind of just really worked on that. I noticed myself a lot more. I noticed times where I wanted to control, and I decided to opt for a different route. And yes, that route bears some bloody delicious fruit. So I'm glad that came up for me. And the perfectionism stuff was really cool because it meant that instead of talking about things, I would just kind of like do them, put them out there, and just be like, sweet, on to the next. Just completely detached from any sort of outcome. And I just feel like if I let the perfectionism run its course, I would never have put out a podcast, and I would never have like recorded a meditation or done anything like that. And I have recorded like 20 meditations that haven't been released because I'm just practicing, and I want to find my little voice with that and find my confidence. But yeah, it's a funny thing because I feel like half of my personality is a little bit just like, spontaneous, let's go, a bit gung-ho, I don't care, let's put it out there. And then there's the other side of me that's just like hyper perfectionist, and that's like hyper just like wanting to do things really particularly. And it's been really cool to just notice that and just try to be a bit more chill. But I'm still working on my cleanliness issues. I'm just like a full-blown clean freak, and I don't know where that comes from. But I mean, there could be worse things than being a clean freak. Am I right? I can't hear you. Say nothing if I'm right. Another really cool DMT trip I had was funny because it was a lot like the ayahuasca trip I had last year. This year, it was bravery was like the main theme. It was going against the grain. It was just remaining true to the self. And there was this like big, beautiful dragon that was just like fucking climbing up my spine and just taking over my whole body. And that dragon was also in the Aya trip. And I listened to a few podcasts on just like totems and spirit animals. And that was like a sign of bravery. And I thought, hey, that's really fucking cool. And I don't think you ever really see yourself as brave or whatever, but I guess in the end, I do like challenge myself quite a bit. And I think seeing that, I was just like, hey, fuck it. Like, if you see this and it's a totem of bravery, then run it. Run it. If that makes you feel good, fuck it. Like, and then when I saw it again in Aya, I was just like, That's pretty damn cool. But yeah, it felt like it just felt really cool having a dragon take over your body, and just like there was just these like reds and blacks, but it was just fierce. Like it was just so strong, and it just felt like it was like nobody fuck with me kind of energy, which I really enjoyed. The last DMT trip, oh no, I did. There was a DMT trip I did actually a few months ago where I sent it to hell and I just kept fucking smashing it. I did. I'm not overly proud of this one, but it did bring a lot of stuff up, which is good. This was probably in like February or something like that. I had quite a bit of DMT, as I said, and I just wanted to see what would happen if I just kept just like going in, because again, it's like a 10-15 minute sesh. So I went in for like 10-15, and then I was just thinking there's more to be had, so I went in again, and then I went in again, and then again, and it was just like I came out of that one and I just changed everything about my life. Like I changed just all of my focuses. I feel like that was like the precursor to wanting to like really heal things with like heal like the relationship with my dad and just my relationship with men in general. And it showed me that I could like open my heart up again and trust, and it showed me to get new results, you have to make new decisions. So I made all these new decisions and took all these new paths afterwards. And yeah, all I can say is that all I got were lessons, and a lot of them quite tricky lessons as well. But I look back and just go, thank you so much. I needed to make that decision to then learn that lesson, because I'm better for it now. But yeah, that one was a banger. Mum would be so proud. But yeah, they've been kind of like quite revolutionary ones for me. There's always a really kind of positive. You're always going to get something out of it. That's the beauty of it. And when you're feeling maybe stagnant in your life, or you're feeling like there's a pressing question, I do feel like it's an interesting modality. And I mean, I wouldn't necessarily tell you to go do it if you're feeling like depressed or you're feeling extremely low, but I do know a lot of people that do it when they're extremely low. I've just noticed I've probably only done it a few times when I've been not the best, and I've kind of just haven't really enjoyed myself and have had trouble incorporating my learnings. And I've often also found that I just had bad luck afterwards, and it was just like dark energy. And I would rather now just be short, be intentional, make sure that I'm meditating, make sure that in the lead up I'm just like on and receptive and open. And I'd recommend the same for anyone, because yeah, we're not fucking with spiders. Yeah, we're not playing around with nothing here. They're very powerful substances. So make sure you're doing everything you can with care and with love and with intention. And if you feel called to do it with some good friends, do that. If you feel more inclined to want to sit with yourself and your journal and all that, do that. One thing I will recommend is doing it in the day and being in nature. Those two things, just marvelous. At night's really great too. I really enjoy, but I think if you're new to the goodies, I'd say daytime, it's just generally less scary. And then nature, you want that just to feel grounded and to be able to come back to yourself. It's like any sort of element around you. If you can have a body of water, if you can have the ocean, and like not heaps of stimulation, I just recommend that. Because I've done like mushies at a music festival and acid at a music festival, and it's just like there's so much like intense energy around you, and it's just not it's not the ticket in my opinion. So yes, get that. But yeah, all these substances, a lot of them are feminine and heart opening and transformative and creative. So if you feel called, or if you have any other questions, not that I'm a shaman, but yeah, come say yo, because this is obviously me telling the stories very short, because I don't even really know if anyone would want to hear about the long forms. But Maybe you do. Who knows? But yeah, they have been really transformative experiences for me, and I'm excited to see what happens next in those realms. It's a funny thing, even with weed, I've found a lot of my sessions to be extremely psychedelic. You kind of have to find your threshold on your own, which is the tricky thing. But don't fucking sit and have a 10 gram mushy trip your first go. Like, have 0.5, have a gram, have 1.5, slowly build up, and then yeah, party up. And then yeah, I'm not going to do a session on the hard stuff, but yeah, I'm not really into the hard stuff anymore. I just don't really. Oh, then again, over New Year's I had a little turny do. God, I had the full cocktail on New Year's, and honestly was flying. I was on another planet, and having sex on any drug. Wrapping it up, these substances they can literally show you the unseen. They can show you parts of yourself that are just asking to be looked at, asking to be observed, asking to be healed. And there's just beautiful reminders to be had. I've had times where the mushroom's just been like, you don't need me, you don't need me. And yeah, it's been really cool to then be like, sweet, I don't need you. And I've never really felt like I've never felt like, oh, actually, no. I've had times where I've really, really wanted weed every day. But yeah, I think with this stuff, tune in with yourself. It's such an independent journey and an independent decision. Like, people often reject the idea of psychedelics, just full stop, before even having tried anything. And I just think, do your research, open up to curiosity, have some, like, do your research, be curious, and just see. And I do think that a lot of these substances can cure mental health disorders like OCD and anxiety disorders, and you don't need them to do that. You're perfectly capable of doing it on your own, but I do think they promote healing and growth. And even that Stutters guy, is that his name? Stutters? Paul Stamets cured his stutter with mushrooms. So, if they're doing little MDMA trials and they're doing DMT trials and it's becoming more available on the shelf, like, fucking why not? I say. But yeah, anyway, this is it. I don't want it to look like it's an episode where I'm promoting it, but to be honest, I do promote it. I am an advocate for it, and I think if done properly, if done with love, if done with intention, if you're just fucking have a few deep breaths before you decide to do anything that's not sitting with you. Your intuition will tell you if it feels right. Just look after yourself, look after each other, and strap in, because it's a beautiful thing, naturally occurring, and that's that. Let's fucking fly to some parallel universes, baby! I'll put some psytrance on to finish. I don't think I've ever listened to psytrance in my life. I'm not a doof girl. Then again... Anyway, I'm not overly sure if my sponsor would want to be included on this podcast, but then again, she is a herbalist, so maybe she doesn't mind. Today I was drinking some Deep Sleep by Fallen Leaf Herbs. This stuff literally knocks me out cold, and I'm ready for bed, honestly, already. But first, I'm going to go to the bathhouse because I worked hard once. Thanks for watching, listening, being here. I'll do some episodes with some other crew and maybe just some more like storytelling, just like kind of more fun vibes.